And I'm on page 8. Good. Complete the table of equivalent notations. So this is the decimal form, and this is the percent form. And we have some gaps in the table. We have 0.763. We have 79.9%. We have 0.6%. And we have, last one, 2.908. So they want us to fill in the table. Okay? So we have to change this into percent, and we have to change this back into decimal, and so on and so forth. Good. So, to change the decimal form into percent, we move the decimal digit 2 to the right. To change the decimal into, to change a percent into a decimal form, we move the decimal point 2 to the left. Can anyone do this one for us and this one?
0.006.
Yes, 0.006, because we have to move the decimal point 2 spots to the left. Excellent. Here we have to move it 2 spots to the right. And yes, it is 290.8%. Good.
And just to double check, right?
Yes.
The like the percent, like the first one, 0.763, you can on a calculator times it by 100.
Yes.
Right.
And this one you divide. Yeah.
And then divide by 100.
Absolutely. Perfect. Yes, the same thing. Very good. The reason I always say move the decimal digit is because it's easier to remember what to do, but absolutely the same thing. Good. Write the fraction as a percent. So 3 divided by 20, we'll put in the calculator. 3 divided by 20. We get the decimal number. And we have to move the decimal digit 2 spots to the right. So 3 over 20 is 0.15 or 15%.
15%.
Yep, perfect. Well done. So what is the first step to write the fraction as a percent? So to write the fraction as a percent, we divide by 100 or multiply by 100.
Multiply.
Correct. As we just did. Fraction as a percent, fractional decimal form. Okay. Good. Solving percent problems. Yes. I want to work on these. I'm sneezing. Sorry. Translate to an equation. Do not solve. Fine. 118% of what number is 16? So let me write this down. This is very important. 118% of what number is 16? This gives issues to many. Okay. What is the operation? What is the concept behind of? What operation is there? Product. Multiplication. Very good. So, 118% has to be changed into a decimal number. So you have to divide by 100, which is 1.18 times of what number is 16? 118% of what number is 16. If we want to solve, this will be x equals 16 divided by 1.18, whatever that is. Any questions? Good. The number 14.1 is 30% of what number? I'm going to write this down as well. 14.1 is 30% of what number? Good. 114, so I'm sorry, 14.1. I have a problem with numbers today. Good. 14.1 is, yes, 14.1 is 30%. I cannot use 30%. It has to be changed into a decimal number of
0.3 times x.
Excellent. 100. Why am I saying 114? I don't know. 14.1 is 30% of multiplication, what number? And yes, we can divide 14.1 over 0.3. And what I will do, multiply top and bottom by what? By 10 and get 141 divided by 3. Good. Good. And yes, we can simplify it because it's 4, 5, 6. 6 is divisible by 3. So x equals 47. Good. Okay. So it tells you step by step what you have to write. Is will be the equal symbol. Of will be multiplication. Just multiplication times x. Okay. Okay. Let's translate this into an equation and solve it. 140% of 40 is what number? A 140% of 40 is what number?
1.4 equals 40x.
Careful, careful. Let's read it again. 1.4 of 40.
1.4
1.
times 40.
Aha! Indeed, indeed. 1.4 of 40 is what number? Correct. And we have to multiply, and we get, is it 76? Uh, 56. I'm telling you. I can multiply today. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 1 is 5. 56. Is this okay? So I used x, but they used n, which is fine. So 1.4 times 40 equals n. Good. What percent of 39 is 51? What percent? Yes, thank you. What percent of 39 is 51? What percent of 49 is 51? Oh, what percent of 39 is 51? How do I write this? what percent of 39 is 51?
Do 51 over 39.
So I have to write x of 39,
Times 39.
yes, is,
50.
yes. So then x equals 51 over 39. I can simplify by 3 or directly divide to get 51 divided by 39, and I get roughly 1.31, or simply leave it in a fraction form. So x is approximately 1.31.
Percent. Oh, fraction, right.
So 51 over 39. So 1.31 or 131%. So if we want it as a decimal number, is 1.31. If we want it in percent, I have to move the decimal point 2 spots to the right. Good. Can we move on to practice now? Let's see. There is one more. Good. Alicia earns $4,500 each month. Her rent is $1,350 per month. What percent of Alicia's income goes toward rent? These problems are very important. We have to work on all of them. So she earns $4,500 each month. Her rent is $1,350 per month. What percent of, although in this case of is not multiplication, okay? At this point, the translation, not yet. What percent of Alicia's income goes towards rent? So the amount that we pay in rent divided by the total amount will give us what percentage of the total income goes towards the rent. So 1350 over 4,500. So when I divide 1350 divided by 4,500, we get 30%. So the answer here is 0.3 or 30%. And we say 30% of 4,500 goes towards rent. So 30% of her income. So if I want to determine how much I spend on food, for example, if we spend, let's say, $400 and our salary is $4,500, this ratio will give us the percentage we spend of the total amount we spend on food per month. So in my example, if that's the case, it's 400 divided by 4,500. If that's her case, so she's spending almost 10%. It's 0.09. So 0.09, so the answer is roughly 0.09, which is 9%. Close to 10% of her income she spends on food. Any questions? Okay. These are very important questions. Translate the following into an equation and solve. A girl scored 80% on a test with 60 total questions. How many questions did she answer correctly? Very important problem. What percent did she answer incorrectly? How many questions did she answer incorrectly? Okay, let's work on this problem. So that is, what page am I on? I'm on 10. Okay. So 60 total questions. She scored 80% on this test. How many did she answer correctly? So 80% of 60 questions were correct. Remember the concept of, this means multiplication. Remember, we have to change the 80% into 0.8 by multiplying it, by dividing it by 100, or moving the decimal point to the left. Good. So 0.8 of 60 is 48 questions. They were answered correctly. Out of a total of 60 questions, 60 minus 48, it means that 12 were incorrect. So again, this is very important. We have total 60 questions. 80% of those were answered correctly. I have to change the 80% into 0.8. I have to remember the concept of O, which is multiplication of 60. 0.8 times 60 is 48 questions are correct. If out of the total of 60, 48 are correct, the difference must be the number of incorrect questions. Any questions here? Okay. Translate the following to an equation and solve. In one game, a basketball team made 44% of the total number of attempted shots. So if they attempted 5, 4% of those were a success. If the players made a total of 35, so they scored 35. We don't know what how many shot attempts. So they scored 35, meaning 35 were successful, and we know that that is 44% of the total. How many shot attempts did they have in the game? So careful, because this is a little twisted. So they're not telling us how many they attempted. They are telling us that from the number of attempts, 44% were successful, and those that were successful were exactly 35. How do I translate this into an equation? So 44% of total is 35. Those were successful. 44% of the total were successful, and that is given to us as being 35. How do I convert this into an equation to find the total?
0.44 x equals 35.
That's it. So then I have x equals 35 divided by 0.44. And then we will know how many attempts they made. So clear. So 35 divided by 0.44. So they attempted, I'm assuming, this is a little silly, 80. Total 80. So 0.44 That's not what I meant. 0.44 times 80. Okay, it's a rounding error. Good. A company spends $270,000 on advertising during the first quarter of the year. If this amount is or represents is 45% of the total budget for advertising, what is the company's budget? Again, 270 is or represents 45% of the total. How much is the total?
B.
So 270,000 is 45% of the total. How do I write this? 45% of the total.
0.45 X or W.
That's it. So then X is 270,000 over 0.45. Any questions? I know it's a lot of work. I know it's not extremely exciting. I apologize for that. But it's the only way to go through these. 0.45. And we got $600,000. So the total budget is $600,000, and 45% of this is $270,000. They spend $270,000, 45% of the total already in the first quarter. They should pace themselves. Good. Okay, I think we are ready for the practice. Let's see if we find something more interesting. That was the learn. So here's the practice. Good. Let's see what we find if we dig up something more interesting. Let me know if you want to go over this. Use the choices below to fill in each blank.